This is the ET Now special telecast on this ongoing boardroom tussle. It's a sensational drama at India's most respected corporate house. Dirty linen is indeed being washed in public. But we're joined by three special experts to discuss more on this war of letters, Supriya, that's going on between the Tata sons and, of course, Cyrus Mistry's Shapoorji Pallonji Group. Swaminathan Aiyar, consulting editor of ET Now. Gurcharan, author and commentator, and Hitesh Jain, a very noted lawyer, joining us live from Mumbai. Swami, I'm going to start off with you. We saw a letter by Cyrus Mistry yesterday, and today there's been a response from Tata Sons. We're now being told that a point-by-point rebuttal to Cyrus's letter will be done, but it will be done privately. It will not be shared in the public domain. Does the letter that's been shared today and the statement that's been made today by the Tata Sons, does it cut ice? Does it respond to the specific queries raised by Cyrus Mistry in his letter?
Okay, I couldn't hear that very
Swami?
clearly. But as regards the letter, to me, the letter is a highly unsatisfactory response to what's happened. Whether you like the leak by Cyrus Mistry or not, there is now out in the public a series of important issues raised by the former chairman. These are relevant for investors. These are relevant for a whole lot of people who are concerned about investing in the Tata Group. So at this point of time, for you to simply say, all this is very, very bad and I will duly disclose at the appropriate time what the real thing is, this is not good enough. We need much, much more clarity on what exactly has happened. Some very serious issues have been raised regarding competence, some regarding also to governance. They need to be answered for the general public, for the Tatas to say at the appropriate time, if necessary. I'm sorry, it is very necessary and the appropriate time is now.
All right, necessary that the appropriate time is now, and dirty linen is indeed being washed in public, like Sandeep said out there. But Mr. Gurcharan Das, you've gone through both these letters, one that raised issues of corporate governance and one that says that some of what was said was unnecessary, the chairman was fully empowered, this is against the culture and the ethos of the group. Does this really cut ice with you? Is this a response that you were expecting from the Tata?
Well, this is a typical PR company response. They're just trying to minimize damage. They don't want to wash the laundry in the public. And I can understand that too. That you don't want to get into a tutu meh as a public spat, because that doesn't really help the company in the long term. But I also agree with Swami that there is a need to reassure shareholders. These are very serious allegations that Cyrus has made, and particularly allegations which relate to governance. And so I think that the earlier they can be forthcoming, and I'm not sure. It's a very tough act, because once you go out into he said this, I said this kind of mode, the media would love it, the people would love it, but what you really are concerned with are the shareholders of the Tata companies. And there needs to be a communication to shareholders, reassuring them individually in each of the companies that the allegations that pertain to here. The real problem in this whole spat, boardroom dramas, boardroom successions, they come and go, and people will forget. These people, they're short memories, and frankly, the brands that Tata has, those brands in the long term are going to depend not on this. They're going to depend on the performance of the products that Tata makes or the services that Tata provides. So that's not really at risk. What is now really the key thing that Mr. Tata has to focus on really is to get a professional successor. And he should not make the mistake that he made the last time. That was a step backward that we saw. And what you need really is Tata's now should show the way some of the other companies like Infosys, etc., have shown that you need the best person in the job, and there are people there. So I know I'm taking you a little bit out of
Gurcharan Das, yeah, exactly. You are. I just want to pause you there, just because I will talk about succession, but I want to address the specifics of this letter. Hitesh Jain, one would have expected. It's been 72 hours since Cyrus Mistry has been unceremoniously sacked. Multiple comments, releases, letters, everything's been exchanged. Do we still have a compelling reason as to why was he sacked, other than comments in general indicating that it's because of non-performance? If so, vis-a-vis what, like Swami pointed out on the very first day, do we as of now have a compelling reason as to why did the board in its overwhelming majority feel that he needed to be sacked in such a manner?
The email addressed by Cyrus Mistry was a part of legal strategy, and the response to Cyrus Mistry is also a part of legal strategy. The ball is in the Cyrus Mistry's court. He was sacked. So if someone has to go to the court, it is going to be Cyrus Mistry. So keeping that in the background, since the ball is in his court, Tatas are not going to respond point by point rebuttal, or they are going to respond in detail, because legally it does not suit them to place all the issues on the table now. Rather, they will hold it up, and when he will go to the court or the tribunal, wherever he wants to go, they will throw all the material on him. Because at this moment, when they say that the sacking was illegal, or they may continue to explore legal options or not explore legal options. So in the scenario where there is also a likelihood of Cyrus Mistry approaching the court, I am looking purely today's letter, because in perception it should not happen that there is no response to his letter. So the broad terms are used, like ethos or culture and other things. They are just broad terms, but the details are not been revealed in the letters. And it is very clear, the strategy is looking very clear, that the details will be placed before the tribunal or the court. And then, because if today, as a part of legal strategy, if you start rebutting, you start placing all the material, you are giving the ammunition to the other side to prepare and then to respond and then try to come up with some response. So today, as a strategy, you reveal less, you give a broad picture, but keep the details with yourself. So strategically, they have challenged now Cyrus Mistry that, listen, we have responded, you leaked the details, now you decide what you want to do. So now Cyrus Mistry will have to decide whether he has to walk the talk, or he has to settle, or he has to just keep quiet. In fact, the letter clearly now gives now the dare is to the Cyrus Mistry, where he has to take a call. What is the strategy he needs to adopt?
All right, the dare is to Cyrus Mistry to take a call, whether he stops there or he goes the whole hog. Does he move court? Does he continue to wait and watch as far as the legalities are concerned? But Swami, I want to throw this to you. If you actually see the letter or the response that is coming from the Tata group or the Tata side, it's in lofty generalities. There are no specifics that are still given. It says that the tenure of the former chairman was marked by repeated departures from the culture and the ethos. There was a growing trust deficit. But where are the specifics? Were there KRAs? Were there performance parameters that he has been judged against? They're saying this wasn't arbitrary. It has been done by the most prominent people. But the question still is, on what grounds did he lose his job? And this letter doesn't seem to answer that.
Yes, I think the lack of specifics and this kind of vague waffling of indignation, is just not good enough. It's like saying, this fellow, Mr. Mistry, he's behaved very badly. Excuse me, why do you say he has behaved badly? What is Mr. Mistry saying? Mistry, for instance, is saying that Tata made a terrible mistake on the Nano and is refusing to walk away from it. That Tata made a terrible mistake on Chorus and is refusing to try to solve the problem. In fact, he says the Tata way is not to run away from problems or constantly complain, but firmly deal with them. Okay, but what is the problem? If the problem is that Ratan Tata made a bad decision on the Nano, then it seems to me you are running away from the problem if you don't close down the Nano. If the mistake was Ratan Tata's purchase of Chorus at a fancy price, you are running away from the problem by resisting the attempt of Cyrus Mistry to close it down. So let's not have these vague generalities. Let us have it out. Let Mr. Ratan Tata persuade people, persuade shareholders, persuade the public that what he is doing is correct. and that what Mr. Mistry is doing was wrong. Because as of now, there is absolutely nothing except Mr. Tata's word that, I am such a great guy and Cyrus Mistry is such a so-and-so. I'm sorry, that's not good enough. The performance of the Tata Group, has been substandard for a very large number of companies for several years. Mr. Ratan Tata cannot run away from the fact that he himself is responsible for many of the decisions that led to that. To just blame Cyrus, now it can also be said Cyrus Mistry hasn't solved those problems. But it is not that this is Cyrus Mistry unable to do the things. The problems did arise much earlier. It was a difficult legacy that he got.
Right, Swami, I get that point. I want to play the devil's advocate here. Gurcharan Das, you're also on boards of companies. You understand what it is to be in a board. Tell me, is the board obliged to give a reason? The fact of the matter is that if you look at it from the pure legality of the action taken by the board of Tata Sons, here was a recommendation made by the principal shareholder of Tata Sons who felt that the chairman of the board needed to be replaced, to quote the group itself. And the board in its overwhelming majority felt he should be replaced. 6 out of 8 members of the board voted in favor of that motion. Not one person voted against that motion. So the board, and the board comprises of some of the tallest leaders of corporate India. So is the board obliged to give shareholders, and it's a private company, it's not even a public listed company, is the board obliged to give shareholders and the media an explanation?
This is where I disagree with Swami here. I don't think it's in the interest of Tatas to get into a public spat with Cyrus Mistry. Cyrus Mistry does not stand a chance. There is no legal basis for him to go to court. What has been done has been done. A chief executive can be replaced by the board, and so I do not think that there is a situation here where he has a case. What is important, however, from what Swami has been saying, is that the shareholders of the individual companies, you can't let them put their money to risk. And they need to be reassured on the specific allegations. So that is a separate communication. The performance of how the companies are doing is a separate communication. I don't think it should be linked to this boardroom drama right now. And I think if I were in their place of the Tatas right now, I would do the same thing. I would not get into an individual, he said this, we say this, etc., because that will not do any good to the reputation of the Tatas. Yes, but very quickly the shareholders need to be informed exactly about those allegations. They need to be rebutted to the shareholders, and that's a separate communication. And right now the tempers are running high. There's a high media visibility around this. It would hurt the Tatas to get into a specifics of this Cyrus Mistry's email. And as I said, there is no long-term legal future in his going to court.
All right, no long-term legal future indeed in going to his court. But Swami, I want to pick your brains and want to get a little more specific and a little more technical here. There's something called termination by will, and then of course there's something called termination by cause. Obviously this isn't termination by will, which is why it's being contested and those letters are out in the public domain. If it is termination by cause, is it not incumbent on the Tata Group, it is not incumbent on the shareholders there to explain it, to put it out? Because Cyrus Mistry actually continues to be at the helm of affairs in listed entities. He's still not out as chairman of Tata Motors or Tata Beverages and other group companies. Because one has to know what really happened. If he was not good enough to be the chairman of Tata Sons, how is he good enough to be the chairman of any other company today?
Yeah. Yes, I agree. You're absolutely right. Anyway, in some ways we are repeating ourselves. Yes, the Ratan Tata, they need to come out with much more. They need to explain themselves. They need to say, what were the performance benchmarks you laid out for Cyrus Mistry when you hired him? In what way has he not lived up to it? It's actually a little more complicated. As I understand it, of the 6 board members who voted against Cyrus Mistry, 4 came on board only in August. In other words, it's not as though, there was a rift between Cyrus Mistry and all these guys for the last 4 years. It's almost as though 4 guys were hired in order to do an axe job on him in August. I mean, we need to discuss that too. I mean, is that the way Tata's function?
Sure. Hitesh Jain, let's get into the legalities of this as well. Back with us, we lost the link in the middle for a brief bit. Hitesh, the fact of the matter is that the allegations raised by Cyrus Mistry in his letter pertain to a period when he was also in the board of Tata Sons. It's not as if he was a non-entity. He had a skin in the game. He was in the board of Tata Sons, and he's been the chairman for the last 4 years. And we reported just yesterday that SEBI is now looking into this matter, a story that all newspapers have followed up as well. Does it not raise corporate governance concerns there as well? Has Cyrus Mistry exposed himself and the boards of listed companies like Tata Steel and Indian Hotels by making the allegations that he has in his letter that was made public yesterday?
Well, frankly speaking, it is not even in the interest of Cyrus Mistry's interest to wash everything dirty linen in the public. But since, he is following a strategy where instead of going to the court, he first wants to expose, and rightly so, Tatas are not going to, any sane legal strategy response will be not to respond or give a rebuttal in the public. Now, 2 important points. He has been on the board since 2006. He continues to be the member of the board. Frankly speaking, on the basis of this email and the response, I don't think public proprietary issue comes or SEBI is going to take any cognizance. If anybody wants SEBI to really come in or any other authorities to come in, they have to lay down concrete facts. These are all bare shell allegations. This is just posturing that is happening. Cyrus Mistry, if he really wants authorities to investigate and all, he cannot just give information on a broad sheet. He has to give specific, he has to give details, and first he has to answer that for 10 years he has been the director or 4 years he has been the company. I'm sure he would have signed a lot of documents. He would have signed the adoption of accounts and everything. So at that time the proprietary issue will come. Why did he not put the note of dissent, or whether he has just accepted? It's all right that after you're sacked you have raised all these issues, but he could have nothing prevented him in raising the issues 6 months back, because if his case is that he was prevented from taking the control or prevented from decision making, there was no murmur. So all this, one will have to judge his conduct perceptionally. So what is happening is just some posturing and some facts are being thrown out in the public. But Cyrus Mistry has to spell out his strategy. As I mentioned earlier, he has to decide whether he wants to go to the court or not, because frankly, that is where everything will boil down to.
Just to interrupt you, do you get a feeling that he's avoiding the legal route? Do you get a feeling that he's trying to explore all other means to maybe look at some sort of a settlement with the Tata Group? Is he avoiding the legal route? Because if he had to, he would have probably done it by now.
Well, I don't think, one thing is very clear, that he is not going to challenge his removal as chairman, because if he had to do that, he would have come immediately. Now the issue is whether he wants to take, so he is keeping on one hand some back channel open for negotiation, and second thing is he is threatening by way of letters that I may take a minority action for mismanagement in the company, so for operation and mismanagement. So basically it is going to boil down at two larger part. Either he goes for operation and mismanagement, or he's looking that, I've got an ammunition. Like nobody's staying in the, everybody's staying in the Glass's house. So let's sit and try and find a way out. So, but, as I mentioned, even if it has for the negotiation or to the court, Cyrus Mistry is the member of the board. He has to take the initiative. I don't think Tatas are going to take any initiative. They have taken the decision. They have sacked him. Now it's over to Cyrus Mistry what he wants to do. Cyrus Mistry is also testing the waters. He's trying to muddle the waters. He is trying to throw some facts in the public. He's just trying to also gauge the reaction as to how people are reacting. He's trying to create an opinion that, that he has been victimized, he has been scapegoat. So he's trying to create, trying to gain sympathy, and then perhaps based on after gaining some sympathy, he may try to bring some legal action. So one has to wait and watch as to what is he going to do.
Right. This isn't a point boiler that we call it for no other reason. But Gurcharan Das, I did see you nod there in the negative disapprovingly. Do you have a different point of view there? And the other question also is that one has to question, Cyrus Mistry has been on the board since 2006. He was the vice chairman from November 2011. He only took the reins in December 2012. These glaring issues that he's now pointing out, I'm sure he was abreast of them all through his tenure, even as a director. What took him so long?
Well, this is why he has no legal case, because he's complicit, and besides, he has. I mean, there is no legal issue involved here, and frankly, I personally think that by sending this email, he has also lost the sympathy of people in the Tatas who could have now come forward to give him some kind of graceful. I mean, his family, they are still the second largest shareholder in the Tatas after the Tata Trust. So it's. I don't think he's seeking money at this stage. I just think he's seeking respect, and there are ways that. Over time, when things heal and things calm down, that there could be a way to bring, sort of resuscitate his reputation. His personal reputation has been damaged, but the real cause of that damage was his selection by Ratan Tata. So. He was in a very, very difficult situation. It's a very hard thing for him for anyone to have actually tried to solve the kind of problems that Ratan left him with. And so personally, I think that the Tatas are doing the right thing now. They can't get into a public spat with him. These things now, the important thing is that the individual companies and their shareholders should be reassured. That's really all there is. There's no need to explain why he was sacked, etc. That's boardroom. These things happen all the time, and it's every day chief executives are removed on performance grounds or various grounds, and these things are forgotten very quickly. And that's what will happen here as well.
Sure. Gurcharan Das, just last evening we had Deepak Parekh, and he said that in his career as a corporate in India, he's never seen something like this happen. He was very critical of the way things were handled. So he had a slightly different view. But Swami, I want to come into you on the role of the board. Do you think we need to question the board of Tata Sons and equally the board of some of these listed companies, assuming that the allegations raised by Cyrus Mistry are true? Because frankly, if they're not true, then they have every business to sack Cyrus Mistry. Everyone in the board of all those companies, whether it's Tata Steel or whether it's Indian Hotels, should be out screaming and saying that, all that Cyrus Mistry said is wrong. So the fact that they're quiet seems to suggest that some of his allegations are true. So what do you have to make about the role of the boards of these listed companies on whom Cyrus has leveled these accusations, and also on the board of Tata Sons, which comprises the who's who of corporate India?
Okay. The board, Tata Sons seems to be, they're being run by a certain number of trusts which seem to have some particular aims, some particular demands, which they have not made very clear. There are people saying that, Cyrus Mistry didn't deliver to me, but it is not clear to me what they are talking about. I wish they would make that much clearer. As far as the shareholders of the individual companies are concerned, they have a lot to complain about. Many of the big Tata companies with a very large number of shareholders, Tata Steel, Tata Power, Indian Hotels, many of these were marquee names, these were Sensex companies, these were supposed to be some of the best. Look at Tata Motors. I mean, Tata Motors' domestic business at one point of time, it was regarded as one of the finest engineering companies, the top talent. What are the kind of vehicles they have turned out? I mean, the Nano was a flop, yes, but the Nano alone is not a flop. What about the other cars in the Tata stable? How are they like? I mean, somebody has to respond. I mean, you can't just blame the chairman of Tata Sons. There is a certain problem way down across the Tata group. What is that problem? I would say it's this, that you started off at a time when the Tata group, by virtue of its size, it had access to money cheaply, it had access to the important people, it had access to limited administrative resources, and so it could act in the kind of bureaucratic, semi-feudal way of being nice to everybody and being able to expand into every single area and do fairly well. We are now in a highly, highly competitive world. In this highly competitive world, you do not find conglomerates who just keep expanding into newer and newer areas and believe that every single thing can just be handled. I find a lack of vision. I mean, people say Ratan Tata is a visionary. Ratan Tata's vision seems to have been, yes, to go to more and more places. He has a vision on civil aviation. He had a vision around going abroad. But what was his vision about where does a conglomerate go when global experience shows that they go nowhere? What is it that you are going to do which is going to be cut out? What is it you are going to dump? I mean, you have grown up at a time of limited competition, right, when a conglomerate of your kind could have a finger in 25 pies. But what do you do now? I find no clarity on where Tata is going. Until you have that clarity,
fair point.
There is going to be a question mark as to, is this just one more conglomerate that has lost its way?
Right, right. Swami, hold your thoughts there, because that's a larger issue, and I think we'll need another show to see where the Tata Group is headed and what could perhaps the successor be doing next. But Dr. Rajiv Kumar joins us on ET Now as well. Thank you very much for being with us. I'm going to repeat a question that I actually put forward to our panel just a short while back, Dr. Kumar, because by writing the letter that Cyrus Mistry did yesterday and raising questions of impairment about listed entities, has he put himself and the board also in an extremely compromising situation? Because these are real issues of corporate governance. I mean, why was this information not declared? That's point number one. And point number two also is the point that the Tata letter raises today, that he was on the board of Tata Sons from 2006 onwards. He was the vice chairman from November 2011. Why did he not speak up then? Why choose to leak out selective information now? I'm playing the devil's advocate on both sides.
Both are very fair questions, and I honestly wish that Cyrus Mistry had raised these issues with his own board and the boards of all the other subsidiary companies of Tata Sons in as forthright a manner as he's done now, 1 year, 2 years earlier. But as a chairman, he may not have felt the need to do so, because he seemed to have had a plan to go about restructuring the Tata Group in a manner that he thought fit. And I think this is my feeling really is that he had a plan to finally define what the core competence of the Tata Group is, and which unfortunately there doesn't seem to be any, and he wanted to go in depth and also to rectify the big weakness the Tata Group has had for now several years, which is that they don't believe, or they don't have any success which they used to have in the past with product innovations. And therefore, as I think Swami was saying, they're spread all over the place, because their only comparative advantage seemed to have been that they were on the inside track of a terribly tight regulatory regime, and that would give them the advantage in across the board within the domestic economy. Not so in the global economy. So the simple point that I'm making is he should have done this 2 years ago. He didn't think the need to do so, because he thought he was in charge, and that he would have raised this, and for all he would have raised these issues with the CEOs of different companies. Now the second point is that hasn't he put the board and the Tata companies in a compromising position? I think the action of the board to have dismissed him in the manner they did, that's the most compromising position that they put themselves in. That's the vulnerability that they've exposed themselves to, because that's not a sign of good governance. I believe 3 of the Tata independent board members joined in August, and in 2 months they made up their mind that their chairman was incompetent. Is that the sign of good corporate governance? So that's what has compromised the Tata Sons and the Tata board now, rather than what Cyrus Mistry has written. And Cyrus Mistry has written this because I think he wasn't given the chance to hear this in camera by the board, which I suppose he would have done, because clearly he had it already, because he issued it the day after.
I think you've raised a very fair point that 3 of the members of the board joined in August. So in 3 months, they arrived at a conclusion that was Cyrus Mistry not competent. That's a very, very fair point that you've raised, Rajiv Kumar. And Gurcharan Das, I want to come to you on another point. And again, we're trying to be as balanced as you possibly can in a debate like this. And trying to, I'm thinking it from Cyrus Mistry's point of view. Even as we're critical of some of the things that he's raised in the letter, I'm sure he's got it vetted legally. So I'm trying to see what gave him the legal comfort to have made the accusations that he has. Could it be the fact that, when he speaks of impairments, he's indicated that, potentially it's a warning that it could have been to the tune of $18 billion. I was working to arrest them. And in any case, you don't need to disclose it until and unless the situation becomes irretrievable, because then it's going to be very tough for you to get rid of that asset in any case. So is he in the clear there? Would you say, given the fact that you're on the boards of companies as well, or are we supposed to fault him for having not made the disclosure to shareholders previously?
Yeah, I mean, those are issues where he himself is vulnerable. And that's precisely why I do not think he's going to go to court. And also, as even on his removal, he has no legal position. Whether the board members were there only for 3 months or whether they were there for how long, the legal fact is that he was legally removed. And so there is no legal issue here at all. It's more of a sympathy issue. What he is, I think, seeking is sympathy and a desire, a very human desire, to recover his reputation. And frankly, if you ask me, he won't get that. The fact of the matter is that he would get far more sympathy and respect if he just remained quiet. That's the dignified way to go out. Putting things out in the public, etc., all it will do is, diminish the Tatas, but diminish him too, because he was part of the system. He was a director from 2006 onwards, and he was part of those decisions that were taken. And so the best course right now would be for everybody to keep quiet. And what you need, I know the media doesn't like this, but as I said earlier, the individual companies now need to reassure the shareholders on the very specific allegations that he has made and satisfy the shareholders. And as regards performance issues, how well he did, how well the Tata Motors is doing, that's for the individual companies now to explain at the right time, at AGMs or whatever, that they would do those.
Right. You've actually prompted me to my next question about AGMs. And Dr. Rajiv Kumar, I have to come to you on this because, the question really is that Cyrus Mistry is no longer the chairman of Tata Sons, but he continues to be the chairman of all of these other companies. He wasn't nominated, he was selected by the shareholders, which is why it's going to be a cumbersome process to get rid of him if he doesn't resign on his own. How difficult will it be for these companies to let go of Cyrus Mistry? Because I'm presuming there will have to be AGMs, shareholders will have to vote on a resolution. How does this typically happen? Will it be an easy exercise, or do you actually expect him to resign on moral grounds?
Well, I mean, if he were to follow my friend Gurcharan's advice, he would just quietly walk away into the evening, into the sunset, and then get on with it. And that would be perhaps, of course, the best solution for all the Tata companies that he's the chairman of. With this letter, he doesn't seem to be in the mood for doing so. And then this would be a routine but a cumbersome process. Routine simply because of the shareholding of the companies. That I'm not completely au fait with the shareholding structure of all the other companies, but I suppose it is as concentrated as it is in the Tata Sons, or slightly less so. But you could always get a shareholder resolution passed at the AGMs to the effect that he should be dismissed. And I wonder if you would like to have that played out, because it is not very it's unsavory, if you like. But I mean, I do want to make 2 points, however. One, which is that I think from what I had heard earlier, that Mr. Cyrus Mistry may have done Tatas themselves a big service by bringing this out into the open and not pushing everything under the carpet, because this might well trigger, or this might well provoke them to now become the kind of globally competitive, globally transparent, well managed, good governance company that they claim to be, but they clearly are not. And it's time that they did, and it's time that all of these issues were discussed about Tata Sons, because that might well be a huge positive externality for the rest of India Incorporated as well. That's my first point. And the second point is that he's a very young man compared to all the other board members. So he has got a very long second or third innings still to go. And he hails from a family which still is quite substantial. So he is not, in some sense, going to be unduly affected by the bad reputation that he might get in the market, because he can remake that reputation. So my understanding from there would be that he would probably go to the court, and he'll probably go to the court because there is an impairment of minority shareholders' will here that is clearly there. And secondly, I think the company law does place responsibility on independent directors to take care of the shareholder interest, and I'm not sure whether all the independent directors have acted in that spirit, or at least we don't know what the minutes are. But my speculation is that they'll be hard put to justify their action on the basis of performance alone, which is what they should be doing if they are being responsible towards their shareholders.
So, I couldn't agree more with you, Dr. Rajiv Kumar. If you look at the law by letter, probably the independent directors are in the clear. But if you look at the law by spirit, then they do have some amount of answering to do. But Swami, I want you to come in on the point that he was making on the role of on what happens with the boards of other listed companies as well, where Cyrus Mistry is currently the chairman. Unlikely that he will step down, given the way things have unfolded over the last 72 hours. Unlikely that Cyrus Mistry will step down. If he doesn't, then does that present a weird predicament, because you have a chairman of a board of several of India's marquee companies who's not in sync with the largest shareholder of those companies, and also who's been sacked by the sort of holding company of all those companies. Is that a sort of unprecedented situation?
Wait, I'm sorry, I'm unable to hear properly. You better ask somebody else to answer that question.
Swami, let me try my luck again. What I'm trying to say is that assuming that Cyrus Mistry does not step down, then you will have a precarious situation where the chairman of several marquee listed companies like Tata Motors and Tata Steel and TCS is not someone who has the backing of the largest shareholder of those respective companies, and who's been sacked or removed or replaced, call it what you want, by the board of the holding company. That's a really tricky situation for all stakeholders, isn't it? Swami?
Yes, it is a very tricky situation. And I would say that, a whole lot of the individual shareholders of Tata Steel or Tata Motors or so on would wonder whether, a few guys in Tata Sons should be able to do all this. There is a problem. I agree with that.
Would you agree that Mr. Gurcharan Das, that either ways he's in a tricky situation, because if he has to step down, it's a really complicated process, like you pointed out and Dr. Rajiv Kumar pointed out as well. And if he doesn't as well, it's equally, I think we've lost the link with Gurcharan Das. Dr. Rajiv Kumar, I'm going to come to you. Would you agree that it's going to be a very complicated process, whichever way you look at it, whether he steps down or he doesn't?
Well, if he steps down, it probably is not complicated, because he can just simply resign and walk away, as I said. And so, and the board then will have to just simply pass a resolution wishing him all the best and saying that that we accept that resignation. The tricks, the complexity, and and all of that starts when if he refuses to step down. And I don't know very clearly, but as a chairman, he may even not convene a board meeting for a while. And I don't know how that plays out, whether there is is that done by the majority of board members calling that meeting, or because after all, as a chairman of the board, he is the one who is mandated to call the AGM or call the board meeting, the special board meeting, etc. And he can just play truant, if you like. Now I expect Mr. Mistry not to do that, and I think therefore he would first move the courts to preempt all of this, and so that if it is sub judice, then none of those meetings would have to take place. And then if the court so decides, he will then, depending on the court's decision, he will take his action accordingly.
Fair point indeed. I'll have to close this discussion, but not without asking the obvious question that a lot of people are beginning to raise. And Swami, let's begin with you on this one. With Deepak Parekh kind of people saying that global investors are worried, calls are now being made as to what is really happening. It's going to hurt not just India, but the reputation of Indian industry. Do you believe there's scope and there's role for the government to get proactively involved in this matter?
Me? Absolutely no.
Swami, if you can hear me, the question that I'm really raising is with people like Deepak.
This is not.
Okay. Carry on. Just please carry on.
I would merely. I would say that. Sorry. I would say that this is not a matter of a government intervention at all. Actually, I think whatever has happened will blow over. It is an unfortunate boardroom dispute within one particular group. It's quite an important group. But it's not something that affects the image of India, the future of India, what foreign investors think about. It is a sensational development of the day, of the week. A month from now, nobody will be talking about this anymore. So I think there's absolutely no reason for the government or anybody else to come in. This is a private issue within the Tata group, between the Tata members and the shareholders.
Right, no role for the government, and that's the indication we are getting as well. But Gurcharan Das, let me come to you, closing comments from you as well. Do you believe this entire episode, Swami doesn't think it's going to hurt the reputation of Indian industry? He doesn't think that, foreign investors will look at India adversely as a fallout of this episode. Deepak Parekh was the one who made that point in an exclusive interview to ET Now yesterday. Do you believe this entire episode will damage the reputation of Indian industry? Because this is India's most respected conglomerate that we're talking about, and it has some of India's most respected industrialists on its board as well. So in a sense, it speaks of corporate governance standards in the country and in Indian industry. So does this damage the reputation of Indian industry, or do you think this episode will blow over in a few weeks from now, as Swami points?
Yeah, I agree with Swami and I disagree with Deepak. I think it will blow over. I think that this is a country where the media is we all love to build things up, and frankly, in the long term, it will be the Tata products, the Tata services that the world will judge Tatas by, and Tatas have had 100 years of a good of a certain reputation. Yes, it may be blemished right now, but I think if Ratan Tata selects a really outstanding leader, then the important thing is to start fixing those companies, start fixing the portfolio, and And this particular drama will be forgotten very, very soon. You'll be surprised.
We'll be surprised the drama will be forgotten soon, but keeps us in business as long as it's not blowing over. Rajiv Kumar, do you disagree with Gurcharan Das and Swaminathan Aiyar on the fact that this isn't something that is going to irk too many people outside of India? There is no scope and no role for the government just yet. This is something that's going to blow over.
Well, I think I can't say I disagree, but I just have to point out that both of them are assuming that there is not more to come out of this to come out of this Bhanumati's Pitara, and there is not more that will be released, because if it does, and if Mr. Mistry has felt peeved and hurt, we don't know what might be in store. So it will depend entirely on that. And then the second thing that I would like to sort of add is that the Tata brand built over 150 years, it will be difficult to bring it back up the same level very quickly. So I think this blowing, this sort of thing that, Gurcharan is of course right that the products will speak for themselves, but the fact that there are several products which needed to go on the, needed to be discarded and have not been, would have to be taken into account, and that will take some time. And this saga will continue for a while. This saga will continue for a while, and I think we have not seen the end of it by any means.
Indeed, who would have thought that as far as the Tata Group is concerned, we'll be referring to Bhanumati's Pitaras and Pandora's boxes, Sandeep?
Oh yes, indeed. But gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time out and joining us in this special telecast right here on ET Now. Gurcharan Das, Rajiv Kumar, Swaminathan Aiyar. Really appreciate you taking the time and putting things in perspective. Joining us, Hitesh Jain as well of ALMT Legal, for joining us on that big debate right here on ET Now. But don't go anywhere, because in just a few minutes from now, we're going to be back with news and updates on India's #1 business news channel. Thanks for watching.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.